Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
88-41 was the play discrepancy in that one.
On a napkin right
I was
now
about to,
on
but
the
then
show?
you threw it back to me too quickly. The other one, and by the way, shout out to whoever put in the chat.
J.K. Rowling?
Shout out to, what?
Hello, everybody, and welcome into a new edition of the Patriots Catch-22 podcast here on Patriots.com. I'm Evan Lazar, joined as always by Alex Barth.
Hey.
Even though we're not live, okay? So don't call in, don't email in, don't blow up the phones for Morel because there's nobody to speak to on the air. So just putting that out there. Again, this is like one of those things where we need to like have a written disclaimer at the top too, right? Like this isn't live, okay? So don't get lost. But the idea behind this show, and Alex and I were trying to think of a way to do something that is what we call in the biz evergreen, right? You don't have to worry about breaking news or something like that, making it not relevant anymore. So we thought what a great idea would be is to break down how Alex and I watch training camp practices, what our routines are, what things we're looking for out on the football field during practice, so that when you guys hopefully get an opportunity to come down to Patriots Training Camp here at Gillette, you can watch it. I hate to call us pros, but media pros. I'm not saying football pros.
Nerds. How the nerds watch
How the nerds watch it. There you go.
It.
That's a better way of putting it. How the nerds watch it. That's the goal here. We're also going to have some fun with it. We'll give you a couple of little tricks of the trade to make sure that you have a good day. One is particularly important that I'll get to in a second. And also our favorite lunch spots, because usually practice is around 10 and it gets out around noon, 12:30 if you stay for autographs after practice. And it's a perfect opportunity to go to Patriot Place or some of the nearby spots to grab lunch afterwards. If you're coming with your family, if you're coming with your kids, it's great. But let's start with the football side of it. So I have a couple of things I want to talk about, then we'll get into like the nitty gritty of how we watch practice. So I think one of the biggest things that I can't stress enough, and I think sometimes I'm going to lump us all in, so I'm not calling out anybody individually. We kind of give off the impression that we see everything at a training camp practice. And I'm here to tell you that anybody that says that they saw everything that happened at a training camp practice is lying.
Yes.
It's impossible to see everything.
It's two fields. They're running two sets of plays at once.
It's 90 guys. It's 200 yards of football field, right? Like, there's no way you're going to see everything. So don't come to camp, and don't be demoralized if you do come to camp and you feel like you missed stuff. Like
it's tough. Like you're watching on one field and you hear a big cheer all of a sudden because something happened on the other field. It happens. It happens to all of us.
And that's a big thing because we get lucky in that we cover the team, and so we get to come every single day.
Right.
So if I didn't really watch the defensive line much on Monday, I can come back and Tuesday can be the defensive line day. And that's sort of how I go approaching it sometimes.
The other thing is, like, a lot of us, we're not the only one from our outlet, right? So, like, I work with Matt Dolph, and so we'll be like, all right, I'm going to watch the if it's the ones on offense and the ones on defense are in different fields. It's like, all right, I'm going to watch the offense, you watch the defense. Or I'm going to watch this. I'm going to watch this player, you watch this player.
Yeah, so what we do with Deuce and I'm usually more the offense guy, and he's usually more because he's more interested in the defense. I'm more interested in offense. So he'll watch defense a lot of the time. I'll watch offense, or like during O-line and D-line one-on-one, sometimes they'll be doing cornerback and receiver one-on-one. So we'll split it up, and that's something that I think is an advantage of us covering the outlet, covering for outlets that have multiple people to be able to watch practice. So don't be demoralized, or don't think, don't get your hopes up that you're going to see everything and then come and feel like, oh, dang, like I missed so much. That's going to happen. The second little thing that I have here is I'm a big scheme guy. All you guys know that. I'm a big X's and O's, play design, all that kind of stuff. In reality, camp is more about players than plays.
Yeah.
They're running a lot of their base formations, a lot of their base concepts in terms of the actual drawing out of the plays, right? The play design. All of it is pretty much rudimentary stuff to an NFL team. We're not getting into game planning. They're not getting into exotic blitzes. They're not getting into all these crazy, double passes and all that kind of stuff. So what you're really going out there to do is focus on who looks good, what player's popping, when Christian Gonzalez goes up against Devontae Parker and Juju and some of the top receivers on the team, or when we get into joint practices, you might not be there. But if you live in Nashville or in the Green Bay area, you can come. They're open to the public. You can come. When Christian Gonzalez goes up against Christian Watson at Lambeau, right? Like that's going to be a big matchup. So it's more about players than plays. The other last thing, and this one's more tongue in cheek, but I got to say it. Bring binoculars. Binoculars.
Okay, so I didn't know. Can people can bring binoculars?
I think so.
Okay.
If not, don't bring binoculars.
I'm gonna look it up.
But I think they can. Now this is real. This is the real, and I know it's sort of a joke, but I cannot stress this point enough. You absolutely, positively need to come to training camp with sunscreen. If you don't come with sunscreen or properly apply sunscreen before coming to training camp, you will look like a red lobster by the end of the day. Every single beat writer under the sun, myself, Alex, Alex, how many times have one of us gotten toasted out at training camp? Yeah. It happens every year. It happens even if you apply sunscreen sometimes. There's not a lot of shade. There's not a lot of cover from the sun. You are going to get that sun's going to come beating down on you. And the one thing you'll say about camp, I love camp. It's my favorite time of the year. We get to watch practice. As you know, as two football nerds, this is it. This is the best part of covering the team. But it's hot. It's sticky. It's humid. It's New England in August, and it's sunny. And you're going to get burnt if you don't wear sunscreen.
People can bring binoculars, by the way.
And you can bring binoculars.
So definitely bring binoculars then, because that's a big help.
Whenever somebody starts out anew on the beat, if that person reaches out to me and asks me for tips for training camp, binoculars is my number one thing.
So in terms of items to bring, sunscreen,
yes,
binoculars,
yes.
Unless you're going to get there really early and you're going to end up on the bleachers, bring like a blanket or something to sit on the hill, which I think is better. Or if it's one of those days where it's overflow and you can get up on the ramps, that's my favorite spot.
Yeah,
I love that.
So we do the shows from up on the ramps.
Right.
I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
Being up there is perfect.
I miss going up there. And then the other thing, make sure your phone's charged, because you're going to want to look up, who's this player? And they'll give you a roster and like have your roster ready too. But you're going to want to look up, where'd they get this player? Where'd this guy come from? What did this guy do last year? Right? There's a lot of new players. And for us, it feels a little less new. I kind of remind myself about this one because this is what I was doing all spring. I'm on my phone, like, because we as the guys come in, we learn about them, but then you get there and you're like, oh wow, they're playing this guy here. How much did he play there last year? I want to look this up and that up.
Yeah.
So, definitely you want a charged phone, absolutely.
All right. So what tips do we have in terms of like actually viewing live play?
So the best advice I ever got on this when I covered, we went to Ithaca College and I covered the team there, and the coaches we got to watch every day, like all season, all the practices, and the coaches were super awesome about helping me learn the game. And I think the best advice I got from them is, if you really want to know what's important, because it's hard to say like, okay, just watch this at practice, because different days are all about different things. Watch what the coaches are watching. Yeah. So look at Bill, look at Gerard, look at Bill O'Brien, look at Steve, right? Where are their eyes? Yeah. And then go where their eyes are, because those are the guys that are making the decisions. Those are the guys that are going to build the team. Those are the guys that are going to come up with the game plans. So if you want to try to like get ahead of it and really learn what they're thinking, you've got to watch what they're watching. And now they have the luxury, if they go back and they watch film of the whole day and they'll see everything, but what are they looking for? What are they looking for? See where they're looking and then look at that, because odds are that's probably pretty important.
Yeah.
It's also, sorry, to add another layer to it, sometimes you see like, if Bill's working one-on-one with a player, you might notice, this is a couple times he's pulled this guy aside and he's talked to him, or Bill O'Brien, same thing. He's pulled the same receiver aside 3 or 4 times and talked to him. Clearly, there's an interest in that player more so than just the base level. So, honestly, look at the coaches and look at what they're looking at. That's generally where my eyes go.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think one of the coolest things that you hear about Coach Belichick is he's the exception to my number one thing when we started this of you can't see everything. Somehow Bill sees pretty much everything. Like he has that ability to watch an 11-on-11 sequence and he can correct all 22 guys. It's incredible. Yeah. I've never seen anything like it. We are not that gifted.
Right.
So when I watch camp, again, it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. I tend to try to focus on like one area of the field.
Yeah.
And I try to narrow my scope, because things, especially when they get into team drills, it's too fast. And I don't, it's too fast to dissect it to the point where you can call out everything that happened. So I will look at the secondary for one play, then I might look at the trenches for another play and kind of go back and forth. I also tend to, because I'm an offense guy and I like quarterbacks and receive, I tend to try to play quarterback a little bit too, and like kind of look at the coverages and the route combinations and try to figure out where the ball should be going and seeing where the quarterbacks go, and then trying to either reverse engineer why did they go there or figure it out from there.
I would say on top of that, and I generally go back and forth between, like, sometimes I have the binoculars and I'm on one player. And then sometimes I just put the binoculars down and I say, I just want to watch. And like you said, I can't see everything, but you can get the general flow of a play. Like, I want to see how this whole thing plays out, route combinations, things like that.
Yeah.
Know what you're watching before the play. You don't want to go, what you don't want to do, I learned this the hard way my first year. You don't want to go into a play saying, all right, I'm just going to wait and see what happens, and I'm just going to look to where the action is. Because, like, you can follow the ball, but if you're following the ball to the catch point, by the time the ball's caught, that receiver's already made his play. If you're, following the ball and somebody gets a sack, because you don't tackle the quarterback, but you saw the player get the sack, but you didn't see what he did, right? You didn't see the move he put on. So, and sometimes you'll miss it. Sometimes, I'm like, all right, I want to watch this receiver on this play, and I get the binoculars out, and I can't even see what's going on at the line, in the box. I'm just watching the receiver, and then it's a run, and I just watched a runoff. That sucks. It happens sometimes. And that's why also, there's another point I'll get to bigger. Know the drills, listen for the drills, but before each play, kind of decide, I'm going to use the binoculars, I'm going to watch this guy, or I'm going to put him down, or I'm going to watch all this, or I'm going to watch Trent Brown on this play, or I'm going to watch Tyquan Thornton on this play, or I'm going to watch Christian Gonzalez. Decide before the play happens what you want to watch, because if you wait until the play starts, like you said, it's very fast. You're going to miss it. Yeah,
and in the trenches, in team drills, frankly, sometimes you're not going to see what the blocking scheme is. If you know how to dissect blocking schemes, like if it's a gap play, or if it's a zone play, or if there's a puller, like that sometimes the runner just kind of comes out of the line of scrimmage and you're just like, oh well, he got through, right? Like we don't have the benefit of the film. Like, we can't go back and watch practice film like the team does. So there's that. What's some of the standard drills? I think some people don't necessarily even know that level, so maybe we can get into
so
some
I
of
think
that.
so there's different kinds of practices, and there's different drills within the practice. So I think it's important to know that there's non-padded practices, padded practices, and joint practices, and they're weighted. You put a lot more stock into what you see at a padded practice than at a non-padded practice. The joint practices are the cream of the crop. That's it, right?
It's those are like glorified preseason games.
If you think an offensive lineman had a bad day in a non-padded practice, you'd miss something.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go off of that.
Yeah.
Within that, I mean, there's three kind of umbrella drills, and then we'll break down from there. There's sometimes you might see some other numbers, but there's ones, there's fives, and there's sevens.
Yeah.
So ones is one-on-one, and that can be receiver corner, that can be D-line, O-line. Sometimes you get like the ball carrier, linebacker, safety drill where it's like tackling in space.
I also like personally, they do linebacker safeties versus tight ends and running backs, which I like too, in one-on-ones.
Yeah. But you'll have guys going one-on-one.
Yep.
You'll have 7-on-7, or I think some people call it shells or
skeleton.
And that's basically, that's only a passing drill, and it's the quarterback, and there's a center there, but he doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
There's a quarterback, center, and 5 skill position players, and then it's 7 players in the secondary, and that's more so used. You're not evaluating off sevens. It's very rare you're evaluating off sevens. That is all right, that's essentially the rehearsal. Yeah. All right, this is what we want the concepts to look like. Let's get the timing down. Let's get the rhythm down. And then you get into 11s, which is exactly what it sounds like. 11-on-11, live reps. This is it. When they go, sometimes it's a long practice, I'll admit. Sometimes we're up in the tent there, we're chatting, or, whatever. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? How was your day? 11s happen, the game on. Everybody stops what they're doing. You're watching 11. So 11 padded practices. 11 drills, padded practices. That's where it's being decided. Football. That is as close to real football as you're going to get. That's the stuff you want to watch. And then I'd say on top of that, if you listen, you'll usually hear. So they're on a clock, and there's a clock. Yes. You can see it. There's a scoreboard, and that's how long each drill is. And sometimes they go a little over, but there's a big horn at the end of each session, and somebody calls out what the next drill is.
His name is Sticks.
Is it Sticks? Okay. Yeah. And he's got a massive voice. Is it just him? Sometimes I think other people do.
Yeah, well, they'll echo him. So
right.
Sticks is the tall black
You'll
dude.
see Sticks. He's tall. He's got a beard. He's got an air horn. He's got a big booming voice. And he'll yell out what the drill is. And sometimes...
He's the Patriots equipment manager.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't know what it means. Sometimes it's like a code word. But sometimes he'll say like, run Fitz, run Fitz. It's like, all right, they're practicing runs. So what I said before about if you're going to pick one player and watch, if you hear Sticks call out something that says run in it, probably don't watch a receiver during that period because odds are they're just doing runs. If you hear something about, like, during sevens, don't watch the center. You don't need to watch the center during sevens.
Yeah.
Some drills are both. Some drills are running and passing, and then you have to decide. But if you can kind of hear what he's saying or you watch a couple reps, you might get an idea. And it can be more narrow than run or pass. It might be outside run. It might be screens. It might be this. It might be that. If you get a better idea of what they're doing, it helps you know what to look for and look for where the action's really going to be.
Yep, that's a really good point. I think that early on for everybody, it's not just you don't take it like it's just you. For everybody, early on, figuring out what the heck is going on is a challenge. It's a lot. And if you didn't play football growing up at like in high school or something like that, you're really looking at something that's a completely different language in a lot of ways. You mentioned one-on-ones, skeleton or 7-on-7 as some people call it, 11s. The Patriots are a team that does do some 9-on-7 as well. And 9-on-7 is typically running. Some teams call it inside 6. I think the Patriots call it old school 9-on-7. That's usually 7 blockers against 9 defenders, and it's a run drill. So there's that too. And then the Pats, as you probably would expect, do quite a bit of open field tackling stuff as well. But what they're not necessarily tackling to the ground in those drills, but what they're trying to do is they're trying to play to leverage, right? So play to help or play to the sideline. So you'll often hear coaches yell during those drills, and those drills get intense. Like the coaches try to get on guys during that portion, and they'll yell things about, force them to your help, force them to play your leverage, things like that. And they're talking about is either your help is either in the middle of the field, like you're trying to funnel him into the help defender in the middle of the field, or you're trying to use the sideline as your help, and that might be where your leverage is at. So you're taking that outside leverage position to push him back out to the sideline. Those are some of the other kind of nuanced drills that I think that they do. They do some new drills in the spring with some conditioning stuff. I don't know if we're going to see that in camp.
Are you talking about that last day when they were doing all that running?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That might just be a spring thing because it is more of a conditioning camp than it is a real football camp. So I think the other couple of things that I wanted to mention were just some of the other like tells that you can kind of pick up on. Music is key.
Yes.
Because the Patriots, they try to simulate a game environment. So they used music as crowd noise, essentially. And you can tell that they are really ramping it up during team drills, during 11s, as Alex laid out, when the music starts going.
Right, because they want to make it tough to communicate.
So when you hear Bon Jovi, or it tends to be like 80s rock, right?
Yeah.
Like
I wonder who's picking it.
Yeah, it tends to be like some Bon Jovi or something like that. Every once in a while, you can tell the players have the aux cord and it will be rap or something like that.
Or Luke Combs if it's David Andrews.
Yeah,
there's that one day this spring where it was all Luke Combs stuff, but yeah. And I would just add on top of that, goal line, too, is another sign that they're really ramping it up. Like, music in goal line means, okay, like I said before, you had, like, 1s, 7s, 11s, and then there's another, and then padded and unpadded. The other factor here is music, no music, and where are they on the field? Are they doing 2-minute? Are they doing, if they bring out the downs, sometimes they do 11 on 11, they just do it in the middle of the field,
right? And
they just keep resetting the ball at the same spot. But sometimes you'll see they'll bring out down markers and they'll move the ball based on the plays. If they're moving the ball, they're at, like, the more layers there are, the more stock you should put into that drill, basically.
Yeah, and then you also have to think about, or look at, you talked about looking at the coaches. During team drills, during 11 on 11s, Belichick will often call out situations. And that's another sort of Patriot-centric thing that I've been to a bunch of joint practices, and now at this point they don't do that as much as far as I can tell at other places now. In Vegas they did it because who's coaching Vegas,
right?
But in other places they don't do it quite as much. But what you'll see is you'll see Bill kind of bark out some things of like 30 seconds left on the clock, it's 1st and 10, you're at your 25, you need a field goal to win the game. and they'll literally play out the entire situation. They'll drive the football, and it goes either way. Sometimes, Alex, they just move the ball to the spots just to go through the motions of the drill, right? Sometimes it's truly competitive, and like the defense has an opportunity to get a stop, and if they get a stop, the defense wins the drill.
And the offense has 2 push-ups.
Sometimes the offense just moves the ball anyways, just so that they can practice the situation. So 30 seconds to go, ball's on the 25. You need to get into field goal range, and they'll play it out. They'll go down the field, and then they'll sub off the offense for the field goal team, and then they'll force a field goal up, and if it goes through, it goes through. So there's a lot of that at a Patriots practice. The Patriots don't – you mentioned, like, putting the ball in the middle of the field and just doing 11 on 11 to do it. The Patriots do that sometimes, for sure, but they don't do as much of that as some other teams do, I don't think, because a lot of their stuff is strictly situational. Last thing for me, maybe if you have anything
I got one more, yeah.
Last thing for me, if you're going to come to early training camp, like first couple days, it's not going to be in pads. I put that out there first and foremost. Second thing, every single year that I've covered the team, which for camp, the full gamute's been 19, so that's 4 years now?
Yeah.
This is going on 5. They have started with a red zone. And every single...
No, we started in 18. We covered a Super Bowl, dude.
I know, but I wasn't at camp at 18.
Yeah, you were.
No, I wasn't.
You were definitely at a couple practices.
Late in the year.
Okay.
They started in red zone every single time.
Yeah.
Every time. If they don't start in red zone, it will be the first time that Paul Perillo said that they haven't started in red zone in like 20 years.
I don't think they barely did non-red zone stuff last year. Everything was in red zone.
So get prepared if you're going to come for the very first practice on July 26th to it not be padded, and for them to still live the entire time inside the 20.
They're going to live in red zone whenever you come.
They do a lot of red zone.
Yeah. The last thing I would say, it's going to sound very predictable. It's not coming from me. Be careful judging a player off a single mistake.
Yeah.
And there's 2 reasons for that. One,
because everybody's susceptible to this because it does stand out in your brain.
Right.
It's impossible for it not to.
So one, this is a classic Belichickism. It's okay to, like, everybody's going to make mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice. And that's what I watch for, right? Tom Brady got picked off in training camp at times. It happened.
Yeah.
What they want to see is, do you learn from that mistake and do you prevent yourself from making it again? You've got to remember, like, and the other thing is sometimes there's instances where they're trying things. This is an experimental kind of atmosphere where you can fool around with things. They may say, hey, Mac, try throwing this route on this concept and see what happens. And he might get picked, and everybody goes, oh, Mac Jones threw a pick.
Yeah.
Well, the coach might have told him, just throw the ball there.
Yeah.
Just throw the ball there and see what happens, right? And things like that. Or sometimes it's, and this is, I don't know if the Patriots do this, but I know there's other teams that do this, to get certain players ready, like, for instance, to get Mac ready, they may go to Trent Brown in an 11-on-11 period and say, let Judon throw.
Yeah.
The snap, just let Judon through. And it looks like Trent Brown took a snap off. But they wanted Mac to have to deal with that pressure. And people go, oh, so you're excusing Trent Brown. And he said, no, it can happen to anybody. But or they may tell a corner, hey, just fall off the route. Fall off the route. We want to see if he picks it up. Like things like that.
That's a big one, is especially late in the practice when they go to like more like a glorified walkthrough. Yeah. A lot of the times they are just letting them catch it. Like it's not a true live drill. I think that's a really good point. That this is a hard thing to decipher.
Yeah, but it's not like, it's really not, oh, this player messed up, he's done. Are you seeing the same player making the same mistake or trailing, or like, is the same player putting himself in the same bad spot repeatedly? That's when you get into it. One bad play, sometimes guys have bad plays. It's not to excuse all of it. One bad play, you can't write a guy off because, one, they have a chance to make up for it, and two, you don't know what the scheme was.
The situation.
The story I always tell, and this wasn't one where the coaches told him to do it. Like, that's something that happens. This is one where I think a guy made a bad mistake. I was at training camp. I used to go every year with my dad. I was at training camp 2009. It was kind of late in the summer, and they were padded, and they were doing red zone, and it was a rough day for the defense, and you could tell they were getting frustrated. I think there was a fight earlier in the day, and it was the ones against the scout team. And Brady drops back, and this journeyman defensive end comes flying around and clocks him. Tom Brady. And he had to run 2 laps. And I think it's the only time I've ever seen a player run 2 laps for, like, one mistake. And my dad leans over and goes, that guy's not making the team. It was Rob Ninkovich. So,
nice.
It's like, if a guy makes one bad play, yeah, you can say he made a bad play, but clearly Rob Ninkovich made the team. Clearly he overcame that, because the rest of that camp, he was excellent.
Yeah.
He was great that year. So that's why, again, it's not about, oh, this guy made a bad play, let's move him down the depth chart. It's I keep seeing this guy coming up on the wrong end of a drill.
Yeah, or
it's that kind of thing.
Right.
And he may not be making these massive mistakes, but it's like, man, it feels like 4 or 5 times today I've seen this corner in coverage when a ball gets completed. It's that, and maybe he's not clearly getting beat, but it's like he's allowed a bunch of catches today, or this edge rusher has not shown up. It's been a good day for the defense, but this edge rusher's not. That's more what you're looking for than just, oh, he made a bad play, he sucks.
Yeah, I think that just to wrap this up, and then we'll get into some of the fun suggestions here.
Yeah.
The one of the harder things to do as well is to decipher what is truly live and what is not.
Yeah.
Or what's
a coaching point? Or
what's like, sort of along the lines that you were saying, like they're telling them to do this, right?
Right.
So a lot of the time we get, a perfect example just happened at the end of the spring. They're doing a jog, what I'd call a jog through, which is a walk through, but they're at least kind of trying to put some pace to it. They're jogging around. And Mac Jones just kind of lazily flicked the ball out into the flat because it's not a live drill. It's not meant to be a live drill. And Kyle Duggar jumped in front of the pass and returned it for a pick 6.
Yeah.
And Mac kind of got on him about it. And after the practice, he kind of mentioned it in his press conference as well. And I'll give credit to the beat. Most of the guys said Mac threw a pick 6 at the end of practice to Kyle Duggar, but it looked like it wasn't a live drill. Like, don't take it seriously. So when those things happen, you got to be able to try to keep in mind or decipher that wasn't actually live. Kyle Duggar shouldn't have picked that off. It wasn't the point of the drill. And that wasn't something to like hold against Mac. Like he threw that interception.
Right.
There's also instances where they might be practicing Hail Marys. And of course, a Hail Mary might get picked off, or a Hail Mary might go for a touchdown, or whatever. It might be a horrible decision that he's throwing a Hail Mary into 3 defenders, right? But that was the drill. It wasn't like Mac just chucked it up. It just that they were running a Hail Mary.
There's even time I know. So I don't know if the Patriots have done this. I know I went to a Bills training camp when I was up in New York. This was years ago. So like pre Josh Allen and all that. And there was one where like 3 plays in a row. I forget who the quarterback was. It was like their 3rd string quarterback. Like the guy like never made it in the league, but like 3 plays in a row, the guy throws a pick, and we're sitting there like, what's going on? Like, this is terrible. Like nobody was close. And then we found out, because somebody I knew like interned for the team, whatever, it was a interception return drill.
Oh.
So it was everybody. I remember everybody walked away. And I remember seeing Bills writers being like, "This was one of the worst periods I've ever seen." He couldn't stop but throwing interception. And I don't know if the Patriots do that or not, but the point is like, you never really know. So again, it's kind of that consistency thing. Are you seeing it throughout the day? If you go multiple days, are you continuing to see it? That's more what you're looking for.
Well, that was a lot of information, but hopefully it was helpful. And I think the biggest thing that we could suggest, other than to bring sunscreen, that's the biggest thing I could suggest. But other than that, the biggest thing that we could suggest is have a game plan, just like they do, right? Come into practice or go into every single drill with a plan of, this is what I'm watching, this is what I'm focusing on, and stop trying to see the forest, because you're not going to be able to, so just focus on the trees, right? And I think that's the hardest part. And we, like I said, we have the benefit of being able to split up duties with our colleagues and also going every single day.
Yeah.
So it's different for us in that respect than it is for somebody coming out to camp once. All right, a couple of more fun things here.
Yeah.
What's like your favorite activity to do while you're down here, other than going to practice? Like, if I had to make a suggestion, I would say, if you have the time, if you're looking to kind of make a day out of it, the Pats Hall of Fame is
go to the hall. Go to the hall, and a lot of people are just like, I want to walk around. I don't want to watch the movie. Watch the movie. There's a movie before you go in. It's the best part. I love the movie. At one point in my life, I could like quote it word for word.
Have you been
15 minutes.
Have you been to Cooperstown?
I have.
Okay, so they have a little movie there as well. It's a must. If you go to Hall of Fame, watch. I know, but I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying, like, when you go to a Hall of Fame, you watch the movie.
It's autumn in New England. Like, that's how it starts. If that's not enough to sell, if that doesn't give you chills, and there's like
do you want to narrate it or something?
I used to be able to. I probably so good. There's like high shot, and they're panning over like cranberry bogs, and you see the trees are like orange and brown.
Do you know we have
autumn in New England? So good. Chills every time.
The first time that I learned about the cranberry bogs were when I started working here. I had no idea those even existed.
I mean, I grew up down the street. Like, I grew up, in Sharon, the cranberry bogs in Sharon. Ocean Spray's right behind the Shaws.
You can go look at the cranberry bogs up at Patriot Place in the back.
That's true. They're behind Bass Pro.
Bass Pro.
That's
and Petco.
I don't want to call it a hike because it's a fun walk. It's a nice walk.
It's a little bit of a walk.
It's probably in the summer. It's probably tough. I normally do that like in the fall.
All right. Most important.
Yes.
Lunch recommendations. This is important. This is really what we're talking about here.
So, at Patriots Place.
Yeah.
I really like Ancholitos.
It's a good suggestion.
Which it used to be a Moe's, if you're familiar with it. That's like obviously burritos.
It's up in like the middle, like
quesadillas.
where Five Guys is, and what is that still? I want to say like Olympia Sports.
They moved a bunch
of
places around. Yeah, Ancholitos is good. Bar Louie is always good. If you're like staying late, you want to do dinner. Saga is a hibachi place, sushi. That spot's really good. But if you just want to grab like a quick lunch on your way in, the spot
where are we going?
Is Good Food Store.
We gotta go to Good Food Store.
I've been going there since I was in high school.
It's a must.
So it's fun. I used to go there when I was in high school, and I'd see like my grease there.
Yeah.
And now I go there, but that's you
Alex,
can't really go wrong.
Don't undersell how popular you are at Good Food Store.
Oh, they love me at Good Food Store.
I walk in with Alex to Good Food Store, and you would think the freaking mayor of Sharon.
You are going to see. Odds are, if you go to Good Food Store, you're going to be either see somebody you went to high school with, or somebody you went to high schools with parents.
Yeah. Every time somebody knows Alex when we walk into Good Food Store. Full disclosure, we try to go every Friday during the season to food. Yeah, it's a mandate, we know. And we go to Good Food Store for lunch in between practice and media availability in the afternoon. You have a little bit of a gap there most of the time, a couple hours. And we go to Good Food Store, and we both get the same thing every single time, which I think is also funny.
We don't change our order. We get different things, but like each week, like I order the same thing, you order the same thing. Yeah.
So I typically go with a honey turkey sandwich.
Yeah.
Which Morel, who knows my turkey sandwich order, is not going to be surprised at all by this. It's smoked honey turkey, honey mustard, lettuce. I'm not a big like veggies guy, but like you can get the works on it. You can get cheese on it if you want. And but Alex gets the sandwich.
Yes. So there's a couple when you go in on the wall. They have like they have big posters of all their sandwiches.
The Alex Barth is going to be on there someday.
No, it's called the Blackjack. I hope they don't change it. It's called the Blackjack. That's what I get. But there's like like all the sandwiches that I've had the other sandwiches there at other times. You cannot go wrong. It's really freaking good.
It's really good. We had Matt Dalla from 98.5. Yeah. He came with us last year for the first time, and even he had to.
Everybody who goes rolls their eyes because they're like, "Oh, you're definitely overhyping it," and then they get the same with you. You're like, it's no way it's this good, and you win. You're like, "That's good."
There's also a Jersey Mike's.
There is also Jersey Mike's. That's the.
I can't do Jersey Mike's like that. I gotta.
I know. That's your spot.
Walpole, right at the end of Route 1. But if you're going in Patriot Place. Ancholitos is a good thing.
Ancholitos.
If you have a sensitive stomach like I do, though, be prepared for afterwards. But Ancholitos
so I would say
really
of all the there's some obviously good sit down places, right?
Yeah.
But if you just want to go in, grab food, keep your day going, grab and go places, I don't think you beat Ancholitos up there. It's really good.
It might be the kid in me, but Red Robin still does it for me a little.
I mean, I like Red Robin, but that's more
that's
different. It's like you're sitting down, you're committing. Ancholitos, it's a burrito place. You get your bowl or your burrito.
Right. It's just like a Chipotle, but it's nicer and better. Yeah. But if I'm sitting down at Patriot Place, I'm still going to the Red Robin. I am.
I like Bar Louie. I like I can't remember what it's called now. It used to be CBS Scene. They've changed the name of it so many times.
Sport Club now.
CBS Sports Club, whatever it is. Yeah, that place is pretty good.
That I think if I had to watch a game at Patriot Place, not that we have to do that.
No, do you remember our first year? We covered a game from there with
CBS.
Trags.
Yeah, because
it was that Lions game.
Yeah, they got killed.
They got killed by Matt Patricia's Lions. That was the game. Juwan Bentley got hurt.
That was awful.
Yeah,
but that's those are the most important recommendations we can give, and Good Food Store, if you're just looking for like a sandwich, in and out, you're not looking to really spend a ton of time. It's worth the drive down the street. It's not in far. Patriot Place, but it's like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's a local spot. So you're not going to I love Jersey Mike's, but you're not going to Jersey Mike's, you're not going to Panera. Like it's one of those like authentic to the area.
So CBS Sports Scenes is no longer there. It's called the Harp now.
Oh, that's right.
It's the
they made it.
Harp
Well, I
now.
love the Harp by the Garden, so there you go.
Are they expecting? I'm not going to. We work with Patriot Place. I'm not taking shots at the people at Patriot Place. But are they expecting people to like go out like they do in Boston at the Harp? Like near the Garden?
No, I'll go to the Harp before a Celtics game just for dinner.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was like a place like that.
Oh yeah, no, they got good food. I assume it's the same. I'm going to assume it's the same menu or close to it. So yeah, the Harp down by the Garden is really good food. People don't know that, but they do. So again, if the food's anything like that, that's definitely a spot you can go.
Oh, okay. Well, they just opened that. I'm still going to Red Robin.
All right.
I'm pretty sure the Red Robin still does the unlimited fries if you sit down. Get as many fries as you want.
I remember the onion ring tower.
The onion ring tower.
I haven't been to Red Robin in a
There's
while.
like 17 different like huge burgers that you can get. I mean that like you're in for it. You know you're gonna feel like you ate something afterwards.
You have if you're doing Red Robin or the Harp or like one of these sit down places or even Angelito's because it's heavy. It's a burrito.
Yeah.
That's after practice. Do not do that before practice.
Well,
you are going to hate yourself. I'll give you want one more spot.
Yeah,
that's good. So it's probably about the same drive as Good Food Store. It's not at Pat's Place, but if you go over to Ward's Berry Farm in Sharon.
Oh, we've been there before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They also have really good sandwiches. You can sit outside. Smoothies are amazing. That's another good spot around here.
You might also see Minnie Deuce. Deuce's son works at Ward's Berry Farm.
Oh, does he?
He does.
Oh, I got to go to. I've been meaning to go there. Now I really got to go.
He does. And is your ice cream spot too far away? Like is that
Cridge? Crescent Ridge. I mean, it's if you really want to make a day of it, like at the end of the day, it's on the other side. It's like so you got to drive. I guess it's not that far because you come up Route 1. You basically got to drive through Sharon. You got to drive all the way across Sharon. But yes, there's an ice cream place called the Crescent Ridge. It was, I think it was Time or CNN did this big thing a couple years ago that was the 100 best ice cream place in America. And Crescent Ridge came in second, and I've been to the place that came in first, and I didn't think it was very good. Crescent Ridge is the best ice cream you'll ever have. If you really want to wrap up your day in style, you go to Cridge.
Can you tell he's from Sharon, or can you tell he's from Sharon? You know,
I'm from around here. I know where to go. What's so bad about that?
No, it's good. When Alex and I first started working together, he gave me, I had the whole lowdown. I knew where to go to eat for lunch, so it's important, and all those types of things. So there you have it. That's our Patriots training camp day. If we had to sum it up, you go, you get to practice a little bit early. You don't have to be there an hour early. Well, I guess with the fans, if you want a good spot.
If you're going on the weekend, you want to get there pretty early. If you're coming during the week, especially like after the first day, it's not too bad. But if you're coming on the weekend, either show up really early, or if you show up like right on time and you're part of that later group, you might get in the overflow, which is up on the ramps.
Right. So come a little bit early, I would say. Doesn't have to be 2 hours. You don't have to camp out, but come a little bit early. The second thing that I would say, all the things that we said about, try to focus in on little things at practice. Try to see the trees, not the forest. This isn't, you're not going to be able to see everything. And then most importantly, post-practice lunch at Good Food Store. We're giving Good Food Store the top spot. And I'm sorry, Jersey Mikes. Please don't take it personally. I still love you. But we're giving Good Food Store the top spot. And that does it for our training camp FAQ. This was fun. I'm glad
this was good.
I'm glad we did this. This was fun. A little bit different, a little bit outside the box. But Alex and I will be back next week on Thursday, same time, same place, to break down training camp.
Well, maybe same time. We don't know same time because we don't know what the practice schedule is going to be.
True.
But it'll be at some point on Thursday
afternoon.
Yeah.
To break down training camp. Can you believe it?
Summer's
we made
over.
it. We made it, folks. We made it through the NFL offseason once again. Football will be back. I'm excited. Alex is excited. We're living it up, and we'll be back next Thursday to break down all of the happenings out at Patriots Training Camp, and hopefully we'll see you there.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check Patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.